This is David Johnson. I'm doing my second, or I guess this is my second video reflection, but my third reflection total. So we started today with the group switched. I thought that was good. I get to hear some other people's opinions. There's a lot of different personalities in the room that I got to meet today, so I thought that was a good addition. And also, we didn't have an elementary person in our group, which we'll talk about in a little bit on how that kind of affected the day. It was 2 high school people and 2 middle school people. So we started off talking about functions, and we had some covariation versus slope in there, and I thought that that was kind of an interesting way to talk about slope versus the regular ways that we have talking about, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, just the way with the chart on how, the slope is really just a comparison of how y varies versus how x varies. So I thought that was good. Also, we talked about the families of functions as well. I thought that this was something that was probably beneficial to maybe the middle school teachers in our group, because the high school people seem to have a lot more, I guess, in their back pocket. Since I teach seniors and finite, we do a class, not a class, I'm sorry, a whole chapter on modeling, which goes through a bunch of different types of functions. So that was good. Also, when we ran into trouble when we didn't have our elementary person, was with the base 10 blocks. We had no clue what we were doing. I guess we're so ingrained in our algebra and our formulas that when we got to these base 10 blocks and we had to figure out a way to multiply, we couldn't do it. We started off kind of on the right track, but we just got stuck after a while. We thought we were overthinking it, trying to do something with setting up like a square, but we couldn't get it to work. Another issue is I don't think we had enough blocks either to complete it, but still we were way off on that one. So I think that it would have definitely been beneficial to have an elementary person in the group to get their viewpoint on how kids would learn and they understand how they think. So I thought that was beneficial to kind of understand how they thought after we saw it. We also had the equation balance. Now, I was a little skeptical, I guess, with what happens when you get a negative x. I think that can cause a little bit of problems with the equation balance, but maybe they would get the whole neutral zone sort of, or neutral field, I guess it's called, sort of thing, where you're pulling out negatives and that sort of thing, or I guess you could teach them flipping the sign. Again, I still feel like either way you're teaching them rules. I know that the manipulatives would be helpful. Again, my concern with algebra is would I have the time to teach them those rules in that period of time. After the equation balance, and again, the equation balance, a couple teachers were pretty good with. I think some of the middle school teachers were better, so it was good to have them in the group as well, to kind of help me kind of get a better understanding of that whole balancing act kind of thing with equations. So. And then we talked about diamond problems with factoring. I think that was helpful for the middle school teachers to see, because I know some of them, I guess, were doing the diamond problem, but maybe they didn't understand the correlation between it. Again, I have kind of mixed feelings about the diamond problem. I think it's okay for teaching the skill, but I think that the actual concept of factoring can sometimes be lost with that grouping method, because they just don't. The issue I had is I taught the grouping method, pretty solidly, because they weren't good at guessing and checking my first 2 years, and then this year I kind of revamped how I taught guess and check a little bit, and they really, seemed to do much better with that, and they kind of understood how the beginning problems were connected to the other problems, and even the guess and check kind of ties in a little bit to the grouping, because it can kind of help you with the guess and check. So it is beneficial for the kids to learn both methods. So I do teach both, but I leaned a little bit more towards the guess and check this year just to try it out. And again, the diamond problem actually can be done. We were talking about at our table. I don't know if the middle school teachers knew this, so again, this might have been helpful for them, was to split up. If you take the middle term and split it up, that's really all the diamond problem is. If you multiply the A times the C term, and then whatever factors they are, you write that as, you split up the middle term into those 2 terms with a coefficient or an x out front. That'll do the same thing as the diamond problem, and I think it's a little, you don't have to memorize another little trick. And finally, another thing that was good to work with, middle school versus high school teachers was just kind of hearing people's differing opinions on manipulatives, the pros and cons. I think in the high school we do a little less manipulative sometimes than the middle school and the elementary school would. So it was good to hear different people's perspectives on the manipulatives, what they thought the advantages and the disadvantages were. All right, and that is all.